Good morning, one and all. This is Swati Padmashri, Zoology HOD of Shaheen Group Institutions, Hyderabad, Telangana. So in the last session, as a part of IPE supplementary revision program, we have discussed one of the important LAQ, that is structure of heart. And even as a part of SAQs, one important SAQ we have discussed, that is functions of liver. So in today's session, I'm going to discuss one more important LAQ and two more important SAQs. So as I told you earlier, totally 4 LAQs you need to prepare for this upcoming supplementary exam. So among that, structure of heart, working of heart, male reproductive system, and then female reproductive system. So totally these 4 questions definitely you should learn. So as a part of it now, let me discuss about working of heart of man. Working of heart of man. So as a part of working of heart of man, mainly you need to keep 3 side headings initially. So in this question, mainly you should talk about generation and conduction of impulses, generation and conduction of impulses from nodal tissue, and next cardiac cycle. Second one is cardiac cycle, and the third one double circulation. So all these 3, they come under working of heart. So that is generation and conduction of impulses from nodal tissue and cardiac cycle, and then double circulation. So in that first one, generation and conduction of impulses from nodal tissue, already in the last session, I gave you brief idea about what is meant by nodal tissue. So nodal tissue is the specialized cardiac muscle fibers. So certain muscle fibers which are present in the heart, cardiac muscle fibers which are present in the heart. So they are modified in such a way that where they will be generating their own impulses. So they will become responsible for creating the impulses. Actually, for the functioning of the heart, no external stimulus comes. The stimuli will not come from any place. So some of the cardiac muscle fibers themselves, they get specialized in order to create their own action potentials. So that's why such kind of specialized cardiac muscle fibers, they are only called as nodal tissue. So in that, the first one is Sinoatrial Node. So this is the main area which is present in the right upper corner of right atrium. So right upper corner of right atrium, it contains SA node. So this SA node, which is present in right upper corner of right atrium, so it is specialized in generating or creating for the first time the action potentials, and whatever the action potentials which are generated from this Sinoatrial node, so it will go to the next node, so which is called as Atrioventricular Node, or otherwise it can also be called as Auriculoventricular Node, AV node, which can be called as AV node. As SA node is initially involved in generating the impulses, so that's why SA node is called as pacemaker of heart. It is called as pacemaker of heart. And next, coming to AV node, actually this side heading generation and conduction of impulses, easily you can write in the form of a flow chart. So if you learn in the form of flow chart and if you present, that will be very easy for you to learn and easy for the examiner also to evaluate. So now the auriculoventricular node, which is situated in lower left corner. So lower left corner of the right atrium. So here AV node is present. So lower left corner of right atrium, it will receive impulses from SA node, that is Sinoatrial node. And after that, from the AV node, so these potentials, action potentials, or the electric currents or the impulses will be transferred to AV bundle, auriculoventricular bundle, or atrioventricular bundle. Otherwise, this AV bundle can also be called as bundle of His. So this AV bundle can also be called as bundle of His. So as the name indicates, this bundle of fibers, the specialized fibers, they are present exactly at the center. So that means the auriculoventricular septum, wherever is there. So in the center of this, in the middle of this auriculoventricular septum, so bundle of fibers arise, specialized fibers, which can be called as AV bundle or bundle of His. And this AV bundle, now it passes through an opening in the fibrous skeleton of the heart. So where it divides into bundle branches like this. So that is right bundle branches and then left bundle branches. So that which are almost coming in the interventricular septum. So like this, the AV bundle is further divided into bundle branches. Sorry. AV bundle is further divided into bundle branches. So that is right bundle branch and then left bundle branch. And now these bundle branches, they'll be moving towards the ending of the ventricles, and again they will rise up, where further they are divided into so many branches like this. So that which can be called as Purkinje fibers. So that which can be called as Purkinje fibers. So now the bundle branches, the information, the impulses from the right and left bundle branches, that which are coming towards the ending of the ventricles, again they will turn and again they will move up in order to form many branched structures that which can be called as Purkinje fibers. So like this flow chart will help you very easily to remember how the impulses are generated and then how they are conducted. So SA node is the one that which helps in the generation of action potentials or the impulses, and from where the from the SA node, the impulses will be passed to AV node, that is auriculoventricular node, and from AV node they will be passing to AV bundle, and AV bundle to bundle branches, and then Purkinje fibers. So here, whenever from SA node to AV node, the action potentials are passing, first of all, it is responsible for causing atrial contraction. This is only responsible for causing atrial contraction. That means the impulses which are generated from the SA node, they'll be passing completely throughout the atria and then to AV bundle. So that's why before they are passing to AV node or AV node, it is responsible for generating atrial contraction. And finally, when the Purkinje fibers, through the Purkinje fibers, the impulses will be transferred throughout the ventricles, resulting in ventricular contraction. So like this, the contraction of the heart chambers, they become responsible because of the specialized nodal tissue that which is present. So like SA node, AV bundle, then bundle branches, and then Purkinje fibers. All these together, they constitute the generation and conduction system of the heart. Then next, coming to cardiac cycle. So as a part of working of heart, even we should discuss about cardiac cycle. So what is this cardiac cycle? The cycle of events that which takes place in order to complete one heartbeat. So first of all, the definition is very important for the cardiac cycle. So the cycle of events that which takes place in order to complete one heartbeat or one round of blood circulation is only called as cardiac cycle. So that definition everyone should write because it plays an important role. And this cardiac cycle totally takes 0.8 seconds in order to complete one heartbeat or one round of blood circulation. So in order to complete one round of blood circulation or one heartbeat, actually the cardiac cycle, it takes 0.8 seconds. And this cardiac cycle, it mainly involves systole and diastole. Systole and diastole, where systole means contraction And diastole means getting dilated or relaxed. Getting dilated or relaxed. So the cardiac cycle, it includes the events like atrial systole and atrial diastole and ventricular systole and ventricular diastole. So the meaning of atrial systole is, systole means undergoing contraction, where the atria undergoes contraction. Atrial systole involves the contraction of the atria. Atrial diastole involves the contraction of, involves the relaxation of atria. Atrial systole is contraction of atria. Atrial diastole is relaxation of atria. Then ventricular systole. Ventricular systole is contraction of ventricles. Ventricle diastole is relaxation of ventricles. So like this, such kind of events, they are included. So overall, the events included in the cardiac cycle, so can be defined as or presented as atrial systole, then ventricular systole, and finally joint diastole. Joint diastole. So the cardiac cycle events can be represented as atrial systole, ventricular systole, and then joint diastole. So what is this atrial systole? The name itself indicates that it includes contraction of both the atria. That means right atrium and then left atrium, in order to pump the respective blood into the ventricles. And here atrial systole begins whenever the SA node undergoes depolarization, and the depolarization of SA node results in the depolarization of atria, and atrial depolarization is responsible for making atria to undergo systole or contraction. And because of this, so the AV valves will open. Whenever atria undergoes contraction, so the blood which is present, as we have discussed already in the last session. So here the four-chambered heart is completely separated because of the septa. Because of the septa, they are completely separated. So whenever the right atrium and the left atrium undergoes contraction, the pressure will increase in the atria, so that which makes the respective valves to open, like tricuspid valve and then bicuspid valve. So the respective valves to open, until that the valves are in closer condition. But whenever the pressure in the atria increases, so because of the contraction, that makes AV valves, atrioventricular valves, that is tricuspid valve and then bicuspid valve to open and make the atria to pump the blood into the respective ventricles. So that is only called as atrial systole or atrial contraction, so which is short-lived. So that is atrial systole, it is only 0.1 second. The next, coming to ventricular systole, as the name indicates, here the ventricles will undergo contraction because now the ventricles has got filled with the blood. And one more thing here, during atrial systole, almost they are responsible for filling, that is 20% of the blood in the ventricles. So 20 to 30% of the blood in the ventricles. So now during ventricular systole, as the blood has come into the ventricles, that is right side deoxygenated blood and left side oxygenated blood, now the ventricles will start to undergo contraction. So because of the conduction system of the heart. So whenever the impulses from the Purkinje fibers pass throughout the ventricles, now the ventricles will start to undergo contraction. And because of this ventricular contraction, the pressure in the ventricles will increases. The pressure of blood in the ventricles will increase. And because of that pressure, so again the blood will try to go towards backside. So in order to prevent that, AV valves will be closed. And that closure of AV valves, atrioventricular valves, will create the first heartbeat sound, which is called as a lub. So mainly in this question in cardiac cycle, even you should present about what is lub and what is dub. So the heartbeat sound, it comes as a lub dub. So what is lub? Lub is because of the closure of AV valves, because of the increase in the pressure of blood in the ventricles, the blood will try to flow back in the reverse direction. In order to avoid that, AV valves will get closed, so creating lub sound. Then because of the closure of this AV valves, again still the pressure will increase in the ventricles, making respective semi-lunar valves to open. So the semi-lunar valves, in the last session I told you that semi-lunar valves are pulmonary valve and then aortic valve. Pulmonary valve which is present between right ventricle and pulmonary artery, and aortic valve which is present between left ventricle and then systemic artery. So now these valves will get opened so that the blood will move into the respective arteries through the semilunar valves. So this includes ventricular systole. So this is only called as ventricular systole. So this ventricular systole, so it takes 0.3 seconds to get completed. And next coming to joint diastole. So diastole means relaxation. Here everyone need to remember that both atria and ventricles will not undergo contraction at the same time. First atrial systole will happen, followed with ventricular systole, and next we can call it as ventricular diastole or joint diastole. So during this event, atria would be filling up with the blood. So atria, both the atria would be filling up with the blood from the respective blood vessels. That is, vena cava would be filling up the blood, deoxygenated blood in the right atrium, and whereas pulmonary veins would be filling up the blood in the left atrium. And meanwhile here, so whatever the blood which has entered into the respective arteries, now because of that, the pressure increases in the arteries. The pressure increases in the arteries, and again the blood will try to flow back. So in order to prevent that, the semi-lunar valves will be closed now. So the semi-lunar valves will be closed. So the closure of the semi-lunar valves is responsible for the generation of second sound, which is called as dub sound. Lub sound is due to closure of atrioventricular valves, and whereas the dub sound is due to the closure of semi-lunar valves. So like this, because of the closure of these valves, now the blood from the respective arteries, so it will be entering into the specific organs of the body. So this is only called as joint diastole. So where the ventricles has entered into diastolic stage and atria are getting filled up with the blood. So during this event of joint diastole, so that which takes nearly 0.4 seconds to get completed. So overall it takes 0.8 seconds for each cardiac cycle to be completed. So like this cyclic event will take place in order to complete every one heartbeat or one round of blood circulation. After this, again atrial systole will happen because atria has got filled up with the blood, and again atrial systole will happen because of atrial depolarization due to SA node, and again ventricular systole followed with ventricular diastole. So like this sequence of events, so cyclic events will happen. So, and because of this only, at resting stage, in case of a healthy adult human being, so they will be having an average 72 times of heartbeat per minute. So that is about cardiac cycle. And after writing about cardiac cycle, so definitely even you should present about what is stroke volume and what is cardiac output. So the definitions of stroke volume and cardiac output are also very important. So what is stroke volume? The volume of blood pumped by each ventricle. The volume of blood pumped out by each ventricle is only called as stroke volume. So stroke volume is volume of blood pumped out by each ventricle during each round of blood circulation is called as stroke volume. So stroke volume is equal to, so end systolic volume minus end diastolic volume minus end systolic volume. So that is equal to end diastolic volume is ED, end diastolic volume is 120, and whereas end systolic volume is 50 ml. So totally it is 70 ml. So stroke volume is 70 ml. That means 70 ml of blood will be pumped out by each ventricle in every round of blood circulation, which is called a stroke volume. Then next coming to cardiac output. So cardiac output is also the volume of blood pumped by the ventricles, pumped by each ventricle or pumped by ventricles per minute now. So per minute, how much blood will be pumped by the respective ventricles is only called as cardiac output. So that means cardiac output is equal to stroke volume into number of beats per minute. So number of beats per minute on an average is 72 times, and whereas stroke volume is 70 ml. So that is equal to nearly, so 5 liters. So 5000 ml or 5 liters of blood will be pumped out by the ventricles or by the heart, so per minute. So this is only called as cardiac output and stroke volume. After presenting about stroke volume and then cardiac output, so finally you should give explanation about double circulation. What is meant by double circulation? So the type of heart present in human beings is, so double circulatory heart and systemic heart. As it supplies oxygenated blood to body parts, it is called as systemic heart. And why it is called as double circulatory heart? The type of circulation occurring in human beings is double circulation. So why it is called as double circulation means, because the blood will be passed through the heart 2 times. As the blood passes through the heart twice, once in the form of deoxygenated blood and another time in the form of oxygenated blood. So that's why it is called as double circulatory system or double circulation. And this double circulation, again, it is divided as pulmonary circulation and then systemic circulation. So all these side headings definitely you should put, that is pulmonary circulation and then systemic circulation. Double circulation is divided into 2, pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. So you can present this double circulation with the help of a easy diagram, where here you can show 4-chambered heart, that which are separated by means of atria. Here you can show the capillaries that which are supplying the blood to tissues or body parts. So these are tissues or body parts. You know that continuously in body parts or the cells or tissues, CO2 is produced because of metabolism. And that CO2, that means CO2 containing blood, deoxygenated blood will be collected by superior and inferior vena cava, and superior and inferior vena cava will take, so this is vena cava, which is the largest vein in the body. So the vena cava will collect the deoxygenated blood and open into right atrium. Now the blood from the right atrium will be pumped into right ventricle through the mediation of tricuspid valve. Through the mediation of tricuspid valve, the deoxygenated blood from right atrium is pumped into right ventricle. From the right ventricle, pulmonary artery arises, where it takes the deoxygenated blood into lungs, that is right lung and then left lung, for the purpose of oxygenation. So carbon dioxide is given and oxygen is taken. So now Such kind of oxygenated blood, again, it will be collected by pulmonary veins, and pulmonary veins, now they will supply this oxygenated blood into left atrium. So into left atrium, and now from the left atrium, the oxygenated blood is pumped into left ventricle through the mediation of bicuspid valve or mitral valve. And from the left ventricle, again, a systemic aorta, the largest artery in the body of the man, arises, that which collects oxygenated blood and supplies it to different parts of the body. So that the cells or the tissues, again, they will get oxygenated blood where they can uptake the oxygen. So this is pulmonary artery, and this is pulmonary veins, pulmonary arteries and pulmonary veins. So this is alveoli of lungs, capillaries supplied to alveoli of lungs, and these are capillaries supplied to body parts. So with this, one can understand that here the blood has passed through the heart twice. If you observe properly, for the first time, blood in the form of deoxygenated blood has passed through the right side of the heart. And again in the form of oxygenated blood, once it gets oxygenated in the lungs, again in the form of oxygenated blood, it has supplied, or it has come through the left side of the heart. So that means here both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood has got separated completely. So that is the advantage of having double circulatory system and 4-chambered heart. So the animals that which possess 4-chambered heart, so completely both the deoxygenated and oxygenated blood has got separated because of the septa. And here the second time the blood has passed through the heart in the form of oxygenated blood. So that's why it is called as double circulation. So the blood has passed through the heart twice, once in the form of deoxygenated and again in the form of oxygenated, which is only called as double circulation. Then what is the meaning of this pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation? Pulmonary circulation means that which is in connection with the lungs. So here the right ventricle contracts and pumps the deoxygenated blood into pulmonary artery. So where the pulmonary artery will carry the deoxygenated blood into the lungs, which is only called as, in the lungs oxygenation takes place, and again the oxygenated blood will be collected by 2 sets of pulmonary veins where they open into left atrium. So this entire thing is only called as pulmonary circulation. So from right ventricle to pulmonary artery to lungs, then in the lungs oxygenation takes place, so that oxygenated blood is collected by pulmonary veins, and now these pulmonary veins are opening into left atrium of the heart. So this is only called as pulmonary circulation. And then next, coming to systemic circulation. Systemic circulation is the one where it is in connection with the body parts. So the blood is circulated to the body parts through the systemic aorta or systemic artery. So here, in case of systemic circulation, the left atrium is pumping oxygenated blood to left ventricle. When the left ventricle contracts, now the oxygenated blood is pumped into systemic aorta, and now from the systemic aorta will carry this oxygenated blood to different body parts, and again in the tissues or body parts, due to metabolism, carbohydrate metabolism, CO2 is produced continuously, and the deoxygenated blood will be collected by vena cava from the body parts, and again it open into right atrium. So that which can be called as systemic circulation. As this circulation is in connection with body parts, it is called as systemic circulation. As this circulation is in connection with the lungs, so this can be called as pulmonary circulation. So like this is only called as double circulatory system. So like this, particularly in this LAQ 8-mark question, working of heart, you should specify 3 important things. One is generation and conduction of nodal system of the heart, and second one is cardiac cycle, and the third one is double circulation. So generation and conduction of nodal system of the heart, you can represent in the form of the flow chart, as I told you. SA node, pacemaker of the heart, then AV node, AV bundle, bundle branches, and then Purkinje fibers. So where all this system is responsible for causing atrial contraction and ventricular contraction. And second, you can talk about cardiac cycle. So that which takes 0.8 second to get completed. And the cyclic events that which takes place to complete one round of heartbeat. So which includes atrial systole, ventricular systole, and then joint diastole. And how they are responsible for generating lub sound and then dub sound. And next, third, you can talk about double circulation, that which includes pulmonary circulation and then systemic circulation. And in between, you can even write the definitions like what is stroke volume and then cardiac output. So when you present all these things with a good and neat diagram, so then definitely you can get full marks, that is 8 marks. So with this, we have completed one important LAQ in this session. The next coming to SAQs. Let us see some important SAQs. As I told you already in the last session, definitely you will get one SAQ from digestion and absorption. So in the last session already I have told you functions of liver. In today's session, let us see another 2 important questions, that is digestion of proteins in the stomach and then a structure of tooth diagram. So let us see these 2 questions, so that from the 3 questions definitely you will be getting one SAQ where you can attempt in the exam. So the question, write the shall I continue? So along with different SAQs in digestion and absorption, function, then digestion of proteins in stomach, of LS of tooth. Among 3 important questions of digestion and absorption SAQs, functions of liver, digestion of proteins in stomach, and then LS of tooth. Already in the last session, we have completed functions of liver. So now let us go with digestion of proteins in stomach. Digestion of proteins in stomach. When the bolus enters into the stomach, the partially digested food in the mouth, which is called as bolus, mixed well with the saliva. So that which has come as soft and meshy food. When it comes into the stomach, mainly in the stomach, protein digestion takes place. Stomach contains specialized glands called as gastric glands. The fundic part of the stomach, it contains, so the mucosal epithelium of it will form some specialized glands that which help in the secretions called as gastric glands. And these gastric glands secrete gastric juice. So the components of gastric juice are HCl, mucus, then enzymes like pepsin, and in infants one more enzyme like renin. So and apart from that, Casel's intrinsic factor, all these are the components of the gastric juice. So here the HCl, whatever is present, it is providing an acidic medium in the stomach for the activation of the enzymes like pepsin and then renin. So you may get a doubt that if HCl, hydrochloric acid, is present in the stomach, then won't the stomach be burnt or not? So the walls of the stomach are protected from the corroding action of HCl because of mucus. So the mucus that which is present as a component of the gastric juice. So mucus is protecting the walls of the stomach from the action of HCl. So this is the important point which you should mention. And apart from that, HCl main function is, it is having two important functions. One is providing acidic medium for the activation of the enzymes like pepsin and then renin in infants. And it kills the bacteria present in the food. So whatever the bacteria that which has entered along with the food, so the HCl will kill it. Now let us see the activation process of the enzymes with the help of HCl. So HCl is an activator for the enzyme pepsin. Actually, pepsin inactive form called as pepsinogen. HCl is present form called as pepsinogen. The pepsin is present in the inactive form called as pepsinogen. Now HCl is activator for pepsinogen, where it converts inactive pepsinogen into active. Small amounts of inactive pepsinogen in the is converted into active pepsin. Once pepsin is activated, performs autocatalysis. So what is autocatalysis? Now this small amount of the pepsin will be converting the remaining inactive pepsinogen. The remaining inactive pepsinogen into active pepsin is only called as self-catalysis, catalyzing on its own, for its own. So which is only called as autocatalysis. Now, in the same way, HCl is also an activator for prorenin. Renin is an enzyme which is secreted only in infants, and with the growing age, with the increase in the age of the infant, slowly the renin secretion also will be stopped. So this renin enzyme is also present in inactive form called as prorenin. So prorenin in the presence of HCl gets converted into active renin, where it also performs autocatalysis. It also performs autocatalysis. Now this activated renin enzyme, it acts on milk protein casein, because generally the food of the infants includes, major part of the food includes milk only, right? So that's why this renin on milk protein casein, so where it is converted into paracasein, and paracasein in the presence of calcium ions will be converted into caseinate, which is, so paracasein in the presence of calcium ions gets converted into calcium paracaseinate, which is in curdled form. That is the reason why infants, when they vomit after drinking milk, so we can see curdled form. We can see, the curd which has almost like curdled thing which has come out. Then this pepsin enzyme. So the pepsin enzyme, it acts on proteins and breaks them into peptones and proteases. It acts on proteins and break them into peptones and then proteases. So like this, the protein digestion will occur in the stomach. So first of all, pepsin and renin are the enzymes which will act on proteins, and both are present in inactive form. But to remember that renin is present only in infants. So pepsin, the inactive form is pepsinogen, where HCl will convert the inactive pepsinogen into active pepsin. Once the pepsin is activated, then some amount of it will help in autocatalysis, where it helps in converting remaining inactive pepsinogen into active pepsin. In the same way, in infants, HCl is activator for prorenin, where it converts prorenin into inactive prorenin into active renin. And this renin also performs autocatalysis. And not only that, renin acts on milk protein casein, and converts that into paracasein, which combines with calcium ions to form calcium paracasinate, called as curdled form of milk. Now, the activated pepsin enzyme will act on some of the proteins present in the food and break them into peptones and proteoses. So like this, protein digestion happens in the stomach. So these are the important reactions which you need to present in the exam. Last important SAQ in is LS of tooth diagram. So diagram practice should happen. At least one diagram will be given in SAQs. So in that, from digestion and absorption, we will get longitudinal section of tooth. So tooth is singular and teeth is plural. So each tooth, it consists of three parts like crown, neck, and then root. So that's why while drawing, you need to keep in the mind. So you can complete first the crown part, that which is made up of with the dentin. So you can first present the dentin part. Then dentin is covered by the hardest substance of the body, which is called as enamel. So this is enamel and this is dentin, that which actually forms the crown. Crown is the exposed part of the tooth. And the next, we have neck. So neck portion, comes. And neck, it leads into root. The neck portion, it leads into root. So like this, you can show even the root portion. So this is the bony substance, whatever present here. This is jawbone. This entire thing is jawbone. And this portion is neck. This is neck portion. And the remaining entire thing is a root portion. This remaining entire thing is a root portion. So like this, crown, neck, and then a root are present. And now the space, whatever present in between this neck and then root, that is only called as pulp. The cavity present inside the pulp is called as pulp cavity. So this is called as pulp cavity. And this portion is the gum. So this entire thing is the gum, that which is covering the tooth. So this is the gum. And this is called as where the root portion is supported or covered. So this is called as periodontal membrane or periodontal ligament. So you need to show periodontal membrane. And from this ending of the root, actually many blood vessels and nerves. Blood vessels and nerves, they enter into this pulp cavity. Like this, nerves and the blood capillaries. So nerves and then blood capillaries, they enter into the pulp cavity. So this is that extension of that periodontal membrane. So like this, the different parts which you need to show in the structure of tooth. Okay, in the structure of tooth is dentine. This is dentine. And this is enamel. Enamel is the whitish substance that which is covering the tooth. And enamel is the hardest substance of the body. And after enamel and dentin, you need to show the gum, that which is covering the tooth and the neck portion. Then followed with the neck portion, we have the root, where here a canal kind of thing is forming, which can be called as a root canal. Root canal. Then jaw bone, and this is called as periodontal membrane. So at least some important 4 to 5 labelings you need to present definitely, like crown, neck, root, enamel, dentin, pulp cavity, gum, and periodontal membrane. So these are the important labelings for the structure of the tooth. So with this, we have completed all the important SAQs in digestion and absorption chapter, that is functions of liver, structure of tooth, and then digestion of proteins in the stomach. So hope that everybody of you will prepare all these 3 questions. In the next session, we will see male reproductive system with diagram and important SAQs of respiration lesson. Thank you.